Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Irfan bin Isamuddin. I'm from J4EC110 for G2. Today I want to do an experiment which is the slump test. So in my group, I will use the original materials that have been given from our campus. Next, I will mix all of these materials, which is fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, the cement, also the water, into this container. Put the mixture into the cone to do the slump test.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alif Imran bin Azizi. I'm from class J4EC110 in my group, I will be use this groundnut shell as my sustainable material to replace the fine aggregate. So without further ado, let's get started.
The material and apparatus that I use in this task.
For groundnut shell, I use a blender to make this groundnut shell has properties like sand given. After that, I will separate 34 grams of sand from the sand that has been given. Next, I will add sand and groundnut shell, then mix until evenly. Next, I will add the coarse aggregate. Next, I will put the cement into the mixture. Lastly, I will pour the water and mix the mixture well. For this step, there are 3 layers that must be compressed. Each layer must be compressed using a tamping rod by free fall as many as 25 times.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Lukman bin Abdul Ghaffar. I'm from J4EC1104G2. So on my part, on my group, I would use eggshell to replace my fine aggregate for 5%, which is 34 grams. So let's start. So this is the apparatus that we must have in this lab. As you can see. Okay, the first thing that I must to do is I must blend the eggshell to make it become a fine aggregate. And the size of fine aggregate is defined as 4.7 millimeter or smaller than that. After settle blend the eggshell, I will take 5% from the fine aggregate, which means 34 gram. So next, I will take 655 gram of fine aggregate because after we combine the fine aggregate with eggshells, it must be 689 gram. So to make the concrete, we must mix all the fine aggregate, that means eggshell and the fine aggregate 655 gram, and mix it with trowel. Then put 328 gram of cement.
Followed by the coarse aggregate 1074 gram of it. The last part, I put 238 gram of water and mix it well. After done mix the concrete, we must make the concrete 3 layers inside the cone, and each of the layers must be used tapping rod to tapping the concrete 25 times for each layers. Clean away the concrete or water that leak out from between the cone and the base plate. After that, we must raise the cone from the concrete immediately and slowly in vertical direction. And the last step, measure the slump as the difference between the height of the cone and that of height point of the specimen being tested.